Football is back, and so are we. What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to another edition of The Voice of the Land here on the Big Play Network and partnered with LPV Productions. We are brought to you by Vector Technical, of course, the right person, the right job, the first time, and DP Construction LLC. Reach out to them for all your concrete construction needs. Just recently saw some pictures that Tyler LaFrada, our buddy of the show, just posted that him and Uncle Steve, a job they had just done, and beautiful, beautiful work on a back patio area at a local home in this area in Northeast Ohio. So if you got concrete construction needs before the summer ends, reach out to them, 330-217-4999. That's 330-217-4999. Or just reach out to Tyler directly, tylerlafrada@gmail.com. As we said, football is back, and we are too. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin Arnold. Alongside me, as always, my brother, Nick Paulus, our producer extraordinaire behind that proverbial glass, Peter Tellep. You guys can always find us, as you may be watching us right now, on Twitter at VTL_pod or on Facebook at Voice of the Land. Find the show live every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. Also live on Big Play's Facebook page and YouTube page at Big Play Live. And you know, if you're one of the people like our buddy Anthony who clamors for the audio, can only listen to the audio, probably because he doesn't want to look at our faces, that's totally fine. Been told that many times. Catch the audio, subscribe to the podcast version of the show on Google, Spotify, or Apple, or many of your favorite podcast platforms. You can always find us there. But the Browns, they got their preseason started last night on the road down in Jacksonville, the Urban Meyer era of the Jacksonville Jaguars, along with their quarterback, of course, from Clemson, Sunshine. You know, who knows what the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to do? Doesn't really matter. All we care about is what the Cleveland Browns are going to do this season, what could be a special season. And they did get the win. I believe it was 23-13.
Yeah.
There was times I was into it, times I really wasn't. We'll get into that here in a second. But show is going to be mainly kind of focused on football today. I know the Indians are still going. Cavs, they shut down Evan Mobley and Isaac Okoro. So in Summer League, I've watched the games he's been in, not going to watch anymore. Indians back and forth of that third spot now in the Central. Kudos, I would say, to Tristan McKenzie. Took a perfect game, 2 outs into the 8th inning, and a guy that seems to maybe be finding something towards the end. The guy that we saw last year could be maybe that young piece if the Indians just want to retool and not rebuild. That is a conversation for another day. But we start tonight down there in Jacksonville last night. And before we get into any of the specifics of the game, Paulus, I'll ask you, and I want to ask Peter too. I know we joke around about Peter. He talks about, I just watch the Indians. I watch the Buckeyes.
Right.
I'll dabble in, Browns and Cavs.
Oh,
but
no. I love the Browns. The Cavs,
yeah.
Browns, man.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Basketball is kind of like in one corner of this studio. But I think what makes this show so cool, I'm not going to claim it makes it unique because other shows may have this, is the different perspectives that all three of us bring. And it kind of helps drive conversation. It brings a lot of people in to the conversation of what we're having. And we don't come in planning on getting heated and yelling in a microphone.
Yeah.
It happens. It
does.
Well. But Browns is always the number one topic here. Preseason, everybody was excited, on fire. In general, scale of 1 to 10, Paulus, excitement level and intrigue or connection to the game last night. I know you have to work for it too,
right?
And that's what we have to watch because we're trying to make jobs out of all of this. But just from a fan perspective, scale of 1 to 10, your kind of interest or connection to the game level last night.
I mean, for me personally, it was probably about 9.5. To just be honest with you, It's a preseason game. Preseason doesn't matter is a mantra that we're starting on ECT with Matt Fontana. And that's the truth because it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't need to see Baker out there. I don't need to see, and we'll get into all of that later. But for a good playoff football team, a Super Bowl caliber team, you don't need to have the big guys out there. You don't need to have the big guns out there. And if you do, it's a series or two. But, I come back at you and say, what does 5 plays do for you? Like that's not going to be the difference between that and Kansas City, week 1, a month from now. What the difference would be is if someone went out there, and heaven forbid, I'm not going to say any names, but got injured. Like a big name player got injured, and then that screws up. It could screw up your entire season. Look at some of the past injuries that have happened in preseason. It's derailed seasons. To me, preseason doesn't matter, but it's the first game that had been up and running there for us since that Kansas City game. That was 209 days ago, from that date yesterday. So we are that far removed from any sort of football. Yeah, I was pretty excited for it. A lot of great, up and coming rookies and second year players that I saw out there. JOK. I mean, do we got to say anything else? That dude was a baller. We'll get to that the next segment as well. But my excitement level is right around that 9.5 personally. It'd be through the roof if it was anything else, if it was a regular season game, obviously, but it was just nice to see, the brown and orange back out on the field, for the first time, once again, in 209 days. We've been waiting a minute.
We've been waiting a long time.
And usually we wait longer, because we don't have those playoff games. But it was a hell of a sight to see.
And over those 209 days, we've seen so much. We've seen free agency and the draft and rookie mini camp and all these conversations and contract extensions and just talking Browns, because there's actual reason to be excited. And it doesn't necessarily feel like 2019. The situation is similar going in from 2018 to 2019 as it is from 2020 to 2021, but it feels different because coaching staff's the same. The culture has been established. Maybe it's not fully in that fine print just yet, but it's on the cusp of doing that. So we've talked, and all we want to do now is be able to see football. And we had that opportunity last night. And of course, for getting Peter's scale of 1 to 10 reaction, anybody that is tuning in, reach out to us, comment in the stream that you're watching on below. Your, scale of 1 to 10, how excited were you, or how connected to the game, the entire preseason game, were you on a scale of 1 to 10? Let us know and kind of, explain your reasoning. We'll have those conversations as well. But Peter, for you, I mean, how much of the game did you watch? Scale of 1 to 10, excitement level or connection level to that game last night?
Well, Jake and I watched the entire game. And I wouldn't say that my excitement level was maybe not as high as Nick's, because it's preseason.
Sure.
And I was excited. I mean, it might be 7 or 8, because I was way more excited than probably any other year going into the preseason. Yeah. But I also remember, I think we went undefeated in the preseason, the year we went 0-16.
That is a fact.
Yes. So I'm trying to, temper my expectations, but it was great to see that, our starters weren't playing. This is all our all our new guys, second, third string backups playing. They looked sharp. There were 2 penalties?
3, 2 or 3,
two or three, like the entire game.
Yeah,
right. They looked focused. They looked well prepared, and they just went out there and methodically, picked apart the defense, and our defense looked fantastic. I was very, holding my expectations going in, but I was very happy with what I saw. And if anything, I'm more excited now after seeing how they performed in that first preseason game. Now I'm really starting to chomp at the bit for, that first game against that team.
Yeah.
It makes you want more.
Sure.
Because you're looking at the sideline and you're not just seeing starters that played a series now in, with Baker having the microphone on his ear, but still in, full, at least shoulder pads and everything, full uniform. A lot of these guys are wearing the latest Nike gear of the sweatsuits and the t-shirts, the dry fit shirts, whatever other gear that they have that the practice facility and Nike provides to them. They're not even anywhere close to a jersey or any sort of uniform. So you're looking at all of the starters like that. And we'll get into it later, but COVID had an impact on that because this is not, we've now reduced the normal preseason from 4 games to 3, and what you normally see out of the starters in that game, unless you play the extra 5th game in the Hall of Fame game, as the Steelers and who was it? The Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Steelers and the Cowboys. Oh, what a great group of fan bases that was for that kind of game down there in Canton. But you know how preseason used to go. Then last year, COVID hits and you don't have preseason at all. Is it enough of an experimental basis of information? We'll talk about that later too. But I think you are seeing that influence already by how a lot of these teams are approaching who they're playing and when in these games in the preseason. Now, this may start a heated argument, which you guys can bring it all you want, but my excitement level and connection to the preseason game last night, the season, the actual regular season and this Browns season in 2021, I'm at a 10, and below. I'm ready to explode because I want regular season football with the guys we expect to be out there on the field. For that game last night, outside of a couple players I was watching, I was at a 4. And there were points that, the fan in me just wanted to turn it off and go play my new Switch that my sister and new brother-in-law got for us when we came back from Seattle a couple weeks ago, instead of watching that game. But I'm very into trying to get as much information as possible and know exactly how the player evaluation is going out there in Berea, and
sure,
what are these guys actually putting on tape, and in a game like scenario against, again, another NFL team. I'm not going to say I was at a 4 because the preseason doesn't matter. I understand the mantra that you guys are trying to start on the show.
Yeah.
But yes, preseason doesn't matter to a certain extent in terms of record. It matters for player evaluation. It matters for position battles. And when you have such a deep team and such a good team, it's those final roster pieces that could have the biggest impact, because sometimes NFL games come down to one player too. And that could happen from any phase of the game: special teams, defense, offense. And if you have one weak link in any of those phases, that's an issue. So you got to make sure that you feel as comfortable and as confident as possible that you have tied up all those loose ends.
Yeah.
But preseason also still matters, because I'm not going to be one of those people that says, well, I'm not going to watch preseason at all. And JOK, yeah, maybe he played well in that game but he's playing against the Jaguars. And,
and a lot of people did say that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name, and I apologize that I cannot credit the take, but I'm not going to take credit for this take.
Sure.
It's still professionals that have reached the NFL. No matter how a team does.
Well,
I understand.
Tim Tebow. I don't know about that. I'm going back and forth with some guy right now.
That's part of the circus that's surrounding Urban Meyer right now. And that's why bad teams are bad teams, because they have those kind of storylines.
Yeah.
But it's a majority of a roster around the NFL, majority of 53-man rosters, and the 90-man rosters they have right now.
Yeah.
That are professionals that have earned their way to this
They
league,
deserve it.
From playing in high school, playing Pee-wee up to high school to college, and now have made it to the NFL. It's professionals against professionals. And I think it was at least good to see the Browns and a lot of national media guys tweeting, it's weird to see the Browns 2s be better than another NFL team's 1s.
The way that I look at it, and you're 100% right. I mean, the Browns 2s and 3s look better than the 1s and 2s for Jacksonville. That was, I was hoping for that, because, I mean, once again, preseason doesn't matter. So people could have taken the night off. JOK could have loafed around and been like, I'm a 2nd round pick. I don't got to do much out here. I just got to make a couple of tackles here and there and, pull a Joe Schober and tackle someone 8 yards down the field. Good for you.
Right.
Okay. Could have happened. He didn't. He was flying towards the ball. The reason why my excitement level was up to a 9, was because I need to see that. And it dawned on, going into the game, I was probably about a 6. Okay.
Yeah.
But the game itself,
Helped elevate you.
Oh my God, did it elevate it? Because JOK and Demetric Felton, the guys that I've been like saying since we drafted, I'm like, I think that something could happen. Like I think that this guy could pop or that guy could pop, and they all popped. And that was like why my excitement level is through the roof, because I finally realized that we have a franchise in Cleveland, Ohio, the Browns franchise that, for our entire lives, Kevin, we've never seen, a front office know how to evaluate players and have a coaching staff know how to develop them. And we, not only did we see JOK, we saw Donovan Peoples-Jones balling out. We saw Demetric Felton, we saw Richard LeCounte, like he had a near interception and then he picked one off going into halftime. Now he fumbled the ball too. That's neither here nor there, but we saw these guys pop. And it was against against guys that are going to be playing in this league, that are going to make that 53-man roster. Did JOK have a couple of hard ass hits? That second half, especially the last one that he had, it was like a minute 13 left. First off, Urban, I don't know why you're calling timeouts whenever you're down 23-6. It was pretty college stuff, there. Urban, maybe he'll learn, maybe he won't. He probably won't.
He's got to work on the finer nuance.
Of course,
being a coach,
of course. But to your point, like there were a lot of players out there that are going to be, on that 50-man roster, on that 53-man roster, and we saw our guys against those guys, and they dominated, and that's why I'm so high with it. I understand why you're at a lower level, because let's be honest, this record, and to Peter's point, we went 4-0 that 0-16 year. We went 4-0 that 16 year and then, 0-16. So it really doesn't matter. But by development of players, it just gave me that satisfaction to know that I think that we're going to see some other guys pop, in the weeks coming.
Yeah, it's good to see the depth on this team. And we'll
100%.
We'll dig deeper into that on the other side of this break. And on the other side, we will talk more about the performances of JOK, DPJ, Demetric Felton, and more, and dive into their performances last night and how they may translate to the regular season, how they can impact this team moving forward. We also get some of your comments on the other side. This is the Voice of Land on the Big Play Network. Welcome back inside the Voice of the Land. And as we went to break, we were talking about kind of just general impressions from the Browns and excitement level from the game last night. And did get a comment in the break there from, of course, friend of show. And thank you so much for tuning in. As always, Ed in Columbus. He says he took our point a little bit further about talking about how the Browns 2s and 3s were better than Jacksonville's 1s. And that's kind of weird to see. He even says Browns backups look better and more prepared than the starters for Browns teams of past years. So the starters that have actually had to play in these games, because they all had to earn their spot. We didn't have an actual core ever. And that's another weird thing to see. Like you have a core that that these guys are set, these positions are set. You're trying to find that depth. And a conversation and a question mark that has always been an issue for this team has been depth, because you may have had that one guy that pops out there, but when he goes down, who's next? Nobody. Yeah. And you're really saying it's one thing to say like, who the heck is that in preseason? We were saying, who the heck is that in regular seasons for far too long. And it's a nice change of pace that, we don't have to say that anymore. And we all kind of gave our scale of 1 to 10 of how excited you were. You were 9.5. Peter, I believe you were about a 7, 6 or 7.
7, 8. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was trying to temper my expectations with it, but like you said, Ed in Columbus said they looked more prepared than the starters in the past. And if you go back, before Stefanski was here, I mean, if you think last year, no preseason games, and the Browns got off to a little bit of a rough start, but they've looked disciplined.
Yes.
And that's the thing that going back further really seems to have been missing. And I know a lot of people are like, bumbling Freddie Kitchens and some of these coaches, they're a player's coach. And to me, every time I hear they're a player's coach, it's like they have no control over their team.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair to bring up for sure.
I mean, and I was just so impressed with, they look like everyone knew what the hell they were doing. There weren't stupid mistakes, I'm like I said, it's just my expectations are going higher and higher.
Of course. Yeah.
So
It's good to see the difference. And now I was kind of the, I guess, party pooper of the group saying I was at a 4, but I guess what I found satisfying last night was I did it for work purposes to prepare for that to be my job because I want stuff like that to be my job. And it didn't feel like work to me as a fan. I wanted to play my Switch, but I'm not going to do that because I feel like I already have responsibilities and trying to establish my own culture, just like the Browns did. And by establishing a culture and being disciplined and having guys already set in positions, you don't have to play certain guys, but other guys did play that we need to talk about. And I think the main one that has been the talk of Cleveland, the talk of conversation all across social media today was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the speedster linebacker that people thought maybe too small to play that position in the NFL, but speed definitely on display yesterday and definitely flashed. Played the entire game for the most part, trying to catch up a little bit. Thought he may sit down after the third quarter, but still out there, maybe knocking guys out of the league metaphorically with, and the guys that are playing in the fourth quarter for the Jaguars may not make their roster. Hopefully you find your way in the league at some point. But I mean, there's no way you can't be impressed by, no matter who you're going against. There's no way you can't be impressed by JOK and the way he played. I talk about all the time. I've watched Notre Dame games with my grandpa, so I've seen JOK. So
sure,
it wasn't the first time. So it's not like it's kind of like shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it continues to just consistently impress me because he finds a way at every single level to be that guy. Your thoughts on JOK last night?
Yeah, this was probably the first time that I've actually watched like a full game of his.
Mm-hmm.
I've caught bits and pieces, especially whenever they played against Clemson last year. But nothing really stands out in my mind that I can remember, at least, since they played that game. But the way that I was looking at it was, I mean, I just wanted to see something, like just show me something out there, because I saw a lot of people saying that he was a little too slight to play the position, that, he's like, I want to play linebacker, or I'm going to be a linebacker. A lot of people thought maybe he'll play that hybrid safety, like that rover out on the field. Okay, cool. You can do whatever you want. And that's what a lot of people were thinking, but the guy knows how to shed the blocks. He knows how to tackle. He knows how to wrap up. He knows how to lay the wood. Like that's something that, God just gives, that to you whenever you're born,
the instinct.
Yeah, exactly. You're born with that instinct. That doesn't develop over time. It just doesn't. You either have it or you don't. And JOK definitely does have that. And JOK was probably the most refreshing thing for me to see out there, as well as, Demetric Felton, making a couple amazing catches out there. And also Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, we only saw him for a short amount of time, but the guy pops, and it was just perfect.
How about that Landry-esque catch he made at the sideline?
Yeah, I got it.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was awesome, and that Landry-esque catch might move one of those top two guys out of here if he keeps making catches like that throughout the season. We got to see it,
right?
But
we've also mentioned that if the Browns can't financially keep them because of the ones that they want to extend.
Right.
Main one being Baker Mayfield, your quarterback, that's going to take up a lot of money in your cap space.
Yeah.
If you cannot financially keep them, even though you want both of them to be here, it's good to have that next guy to flow in. And that's what the good teams do. We've talked about that ad nauseum on this show. When good teams are good teams or great teams are great teams, there are guys in established spots, but those organizations still draft well. They sign, maybe under the radar free agents well, that are young guys that now they get ingrained in that culture that they may not have had the chance to be a part of before, like former Browns players that have gone on to maybe more success with other better organizations in the past. Those guys, then once the older guys, just based on money, finances of professional sports, not able to stay there, and that young guy comes in and is already ready to kind of just take on the mantle, keep the level there, if not elevate it. And I think that's awesome. Awesome that the Browns are bringing that to the table now as well. I mean, JOK, they always say you can't teach speed. Now you can train speed, but you can train speed to, kind of find and elevate to new levels as time goes on. You can't take something from, it's not like, top throw dragster. You can't take something from 0 to 120 in 4 seconds or four easy steps. It's not that kind of thing. That's why they say you can't teach speed, but it's also the instincts. And it doesn't matter what size you are. If you have the instincts, you got the speed, you have the sports IQ of the sport that you're in. And in this case, football, JOK has that football IQ. And it's cliche to say, but he's one of those guys that is never satisfied with his performance. Nathan Zagura, after the game last night, he was the post-game interview. Nathan wanted him to kind of talk about his own stats and his glowing plays of last night. But he's like, you know what? I made a lot of bad plays too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I'm going to go back. I'm like, the film is going to teach me. The experience is going to teach me. I'm not going to allow that mistake to happen again. I'm not going to allow the other team to outsmart me the way that they just did to get me out of my rhythm, out of my position. I'm not going to allow that kind of situation to come up again and allow this film to force another team to game plan that way against me. That's smart. You mentioned Demetric Felton, though, Paulus. Any surprise there that they didn't have him at running back really at all last night? And I know, more so at UCLA, I think he was a receiver, and then senior year he plays
like a
running
scat back. Yeah,
scat back. Any surprise, at least in the first game, not seeing him kind of do a little bit of both?
No, it wasn't surprising to me. At training camp, they've had him exclusively with the wide receivers for the last probably 2 weeks now. At first, he was splitting time, at the running back position as well as the wide receiver. I think that they're just scrapping the running back aspect of it and saying, you know what, if you're going to make this team, you're going to make it as a kick returner, punt returner, like somewhere on that, end of the bargain, on that end of the field, and then also in the wide receiver room. And he made some plays out there, but as well as Davion Davis.
Yes.
Couple
just picked him up too.
Right. Well, he'd actually played with us for that Jets game.
Oh,
we had just picked him up because we had no wide receivers. That was the game that Jarvis and everyone was COVID symptomatic or they were near COVID,
right.
The close contact. There we go. But he played with us then. So I'm sure, catching passes from Kyle Lauletta is a lot different than catching passes from Baker Mayfield, but he looked really good out there. He looked surprising. So a lot of hope, a lot of fun moments out there. I'm sure, Zagura being, on the field, has a way different perspective than what we do, but just watching those plays happen. And once again, it's preseason. I get it. I don't want to get too high on them, but there were a lot of great plays out there to be made, and the guys made them. It's not like we saw, and even if they did a fourth quarter comeback and won the game, who cares? This doesn't go down as a stat, that I really care about, the wins or losses of a preseason game. But it was good to see that everyone was competing from the moment kickoff happened to whenever the clock struck zeros. That was great to see.
Now, the word you just said, competing,
Yeah.
that used to be a trigger word in this town. We would
Yeah.
hear coaches say, well, either competing or battling. You know, the guys really competed out there tonight,
Yeah.
but, you know, we just didn't get the job done. Or those guys really battled out there. You know, I can't, you know, I'm proud of them. We'll look at the tape. Like, we just didn't
Of
have
course,
enough at the end. And again, it's coach speak, it's cliche. But again, like, Kevin Stefanski and these players are saying the same thing, but they're acting on it, and they're basically living by cliches. Not necessarily the intent of it, but they're living what they're saying.
Yeah.
They're producing what they're saying. That's the other change to this Browns organization. And yeah, you have to kind of temper expectations, or at least excitement, because preseason. But I think every time that this team goes out there, whether it's preseason, regular season, or playoffs, they are raising the level of expectations being put on themselves every single time, because they are showing you exactly what they can do and how much better they can get. And that doesn't matter if it's the number one guy all the way down to number 90 right now in the preseason, or 53 in the regular season. Every single guy is going to have the same mentality, the same effort out there on the field. And, you know, I got to say that the standout for me in that game was Donovan Peoples-Jones, because I haven't had a chance to get out to training camp this year, but he has been the story in training camp. You've heard that story before too. Like that one guy that's standing out in
of course,
training camp, and then it doesn't translate out there on the field because
Devin Kajus. Yeah. Like,
right. You know, those special stories.
What was it? GC Giuseppe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damon Sheehy Giuseppe. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So like these like cool stories of guys that are, you know, kind of, you know, trying to earn that spot, and you kind of get this heartwarming feeling for them and this heartwarming connection as a fan for them. But it doesn't translate to the NFL game, maybe not to any fault of their own, but in practice, they're not actually being prepared at an NFL level.
Mm-hmm.
Said that for 20 plus years.
Right.
Why the Browns weren't good since 1999, and even sniffing really quality playoff opportunities and competition, contending opportunities since the late 80s, because they weren't being prepared at an NFL level. They are now, and that just takes the expectations to another level, which we will talk about on the other side of this break. I do want to get in Ed in Columbus's other topic, because this will take us to break, and you know, as we preview the next game and where the Browns go from here in their progress and process.
Mm-hmm.
Love that word now in this time. I've always loved that word, but I know I can't trigger anybody with that word anymore.
Not anymore. No.
But he says AFC North rankings: 1, Browns; 2, Ravens; 3, Browns backups; 4, Steelers; 5. He puts the Ravens again. May have forgot the Bengals there, but maybe that was
I don't think
shot or not.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, Fontana. Had to steal that one for a second. That is a ECT exclusive on ESPN Cleveland for shot or not. But you know, I'm sure you'd be okay with borrowing. I was one of his best students, so
no doubt.
But on the other side, we will talk about that. Where are the Browns kind of go from here, and how do they approach this week with the New York Giants, with joint practices coming into town? This is the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network. Welcome back to the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network. I am Kevin Arnold, one of your hosts, alongside my brother Nick Paulus, our producer extraordinaire Peter Toth. We've been talking Browns here tonight, and going to kind of take game 1 to game 2 in the preseason, a bit of a different setup this week. Browns will practice Tuesday and Wednesday just as a team themselves. Normal training camp days there. Kevin Stefanski did say in his press conference post-game or post-game day press conference a little earlier this afternoon that they will have somewhat lighter practices because the New York Giants come to town for a 1 p.m. preseason game on Sunday and for joint practices out in Berea Thursday and Friday. Before we get to kind of how this team needs to approach that and what if there's any issues to starters not playing in these games, or if we expect the starters to play in the games after these couple joint practices coming up this week, where do you put, according to Ed in Columbus, the Browns backups are number 3. They would end up 3rd in the AFC North.
I think that's a little high if I can be 100% honest with you. However, I do think that once again, this is, this team 1-90 right now looks really good. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of players that don't make this roster making big plays for other teams. So that's refreshing to see. I have no issues with the starters not playing. Once again, I don't need to see Baker out there for five plays. They do a 3 and out, or he comes back out and he gets an 80-yard touchdown. I don't need to see that because I just think it's one of those things where they're going to get all the reps that they need in practice. That's just that. It is what it is. Kevin Stefanski is not going to have them sitting on the bikes doing the tour of Berea, Tour Day of Berea or whatever that is.
Tour de Berea.
Tour de Berea. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
I'm a big Tour de France guy.
Well,
so,
there you go. Well, I don't think that they're going to be pulling that in Berea. Let's put it that way.
I don't know why I watch so many sports that I do, but
it's good.
I'm weird like that.
But I think that you're going to see a lot of guys out there practicing, especially this coming up week against the Giants. We're going to have that inner scrimmage sort of thing going on, and that is always a bigger test than the actual preseason games themselves. It just is. I don't know why it is. I think it's more contentious in practice than it is to be out in front of millions of people. I don't understand that personally, but that's just the way that it is in the NFL. So I think that you're going to see all that you need to see from that sort of scrimmage going on instead of the games. Once again, I don't need to see Baker. I definitely sure as hell don't need to see Odell test that leg out in a preseason game. We've seen him get hurt in preseason before. It was against
Cleveland.
It was against Cleveland. Exactly. Whenever he had his ankle rolled up on, I think he missed like the first 5 weeks of the season.
Like 2018 is last year.
No,
the year after that miraculous catch.
Right. It was, so 20, I think it was like 2015, 16.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
But we definitely don't need to see that out there. I think that the only players that need to play are the guys that are fighting for that number 1 spot. Baker, no. Odell, Jarvis, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt,
no.
Miles, Jadeveon. I could go on and on and on. I need to see more out of the defensive tackle spot and probably the linebackers. That's what I need to see. Anthony Walker, nope, you're good. I kind of saw enough from JOK last night to be like, oh, you're good. Bubble wrap them.
Right.
I'm cool with that. But you got to play someone. You got to play people out there. So I get, a couple of these guys playing like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I want them to bubble wrap him, but I need to see him be more consistent out there because he is only going to be getting maybe 20 reps a game. Yeah. If that, 20 times out on the field, he needs to catch as many balls as possible. He needs to be out there catching balls from Keenum, Laletta, and in practice Baker. And I think that that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of those second and third teamers out there. And that's all I need to see. If you are a bona fide starter, you shouldn't see the field for preseason. That's my rule for it. And there's a lot of other teams like Green Bay. Green Bay does that. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to see the field. It was crazy to see that Patrick Mahomes took 2 snaps and then he threw a 60-yard touchdown. He's like, okay, we're good. His only preseason action he's ever seen was that. So it's kind of nuts.
Peter, from your perspective, do you want to see the starters at all this preseason, and or how much do you want to see them play to, if anything, get a rhythm, because they're I guess, detriment from the NFL. There is so much time from start of training camps to start a season, and there's going to be a lot of time from last preseason game to the start of the season. How much do you want to see as a fan the starters this preseason?
Well, as a fan, I always want to see the starters because those are
of
my
course,
guys, right?
Right.
But I don't think it's necessary because they were meshed together. They were cohesive at the end of the season, and we're not bringing in a bunch of new starters. We have the same, pretty much the same core returning. There's really no reason to have them out there and have some stupid freak accident happen, at this point. I think right now, the best thing that we could hope for as Browns fans is that we continue to see the second and thirds out there, and whoever shows that they earn that spot to be the backups.
Yeah.
Because most of these guys, they're going to, a lot of them, they're going to be the backups. Some of them are going to, slot into starting positions, but a lot of these guys, they're out there right now. They're fighting to be the backup on this team because we have a strong team.
See, this conversation about like how much the starter should play kind of took me by surprise, listening to both the Fan and ESPN Cleveland, and even from a national perspective, listening to some of the national shows, just in general around the NFL, how much starters should play. And again, this conversation comes from the COVID era. I mean, this could be one of the bright spots from the sports perspective of COVID quarantine and the COVID pandemic, as much as we are, still fighting it in the Delta variant. And we continue to send our best out to all first responders, anyone dealing with the virus. And, this is real life is difficult, and we understand the pandemic is still there, and, just do what you can to help out and remember those that are still fighting to try to get us through and on the other side, because I don't think we're there just yet. That aside, COVID has impacted how the NFL and how guys in front offices are going to approach, and coaching staffs are going to approach preseason, because without one last year, you saw a pretty good product on the field last year. And specifically here in Cleveland, they found a way as a whole new coaching staff. Stefanski only meeting Baker down in Texas before the quarantine hit one time, and then couldn't see him again until they were allowed to have guys. The NFL cleared them and medical professionals cleared them to come into the building in Berea. A lot of those guys had met the head coach. Again, it seemed like the whole same story over and over again, now with an added pandemic in it, with, first-year head coach coming from a coordinator position, some of the same front office guys from the 1-31 era. But they found a way in a virtual culture, virtual world, to have a successful season. Yeah, game one didn't look good at all. 38-6 to a division rival. Okay, but you still go 11-5. In my mind, I'm still kind of competing with myself or debating with myself. Do I want to see these starters or do I not? Because there is so much time. And I think that's the bigger conversation the NFL needs to look at. How much time now training camp has been given to it, because you kind of got back to OTAs and mini camps. So all of that offseason work you didn't see last year came back this year. So they're already doing more work than they did last year, all these teams, especially those with a first-year head coach last year. Just for a rhythm's sake, I would like to see a little bit better in game one. Now, I already said it. I'm not picking the Browns to beat the Chiefs in game one until they prove me wrong, and I'm rooting for them to prove me wrong.
Of course.
Heck, I'll even bring in like Browns pom-poms and like say like I'm wrong. Like some sort, if you guys want me to punish myself for not picking them and they lost, like I'm going to be all excited if they win. And why they win is going to be like they haven't won in openers before because they haven't been prepared. They haven't been an established team. So you start to feel more and more confident that streak is going to end. But until they prove me wrong, I'm not going to make that selection, as much as my orange and brown color glasses want me to.
And that's fair. I mean, I personally don't think that you can, like, if I was putting money on a team, I'd bet on Kansas City. I'm sorry. I just would. And the reason for that is because I've seen the track record. Now, that's an old Cleveland fan mindset that we eventually do need to turn around. But I think that's like the last old Cleveland mindset that we have. Until you prove that you can win that first game, and they are like 15-1 over their last 16 times. I'm sorry, like you got to bet against them, for that opening game. I think that they have a chance. I think that they have a great chance, especially after looking at that defense yesterday. And mind you, it was the backups, but to see that defensive philosophy, I loved what Joe Woods was throwing out there.
Yeah.
And it gives me hope to know that if we can trick up, Patrick Mahomes and, make him overthink things or anything like that, it gives us a great chance. So like I'm rooting for the Browns, obviously we are, but smart money's on Kansas City. It just is.
Yeah, you're gonna ask me to make a prediction. I'm still saying Kansas City.
Right.
That has not changed.
And it's
even
once again,
after
it's an old Cleveland mindset, but I'm sorry, like you can't break it until it happens. We got to go from there.
It's the thorns in the side of what we have known and what you and I have known in our lifetime being Browns fans. We're not going to be any other fans. We were never going to be any other fans because our families brought us up the right way to like be a part of the truly loyal fan base that the Browns are.
Yeah.
But there are thorns in the side for you to know when you look at things realistically. We're kind of plucking those thorns one by one out and getting rid. Those memories will always be there, but now they can become distant memories. And the more that this team proves, whether it's the national media or our predictions wrong, the more those thorns for us as fans go, and those memories just get pushed as distant memories. And now we get to see the football that we have desired and deserved for so long. Again, the starters playing, I'd love to see. I know ECT even did not to steal another thing, but did an over-under of 1.25.
Mm-hmm.
My first instinct was, I want to see, if it's me, I want to see over. And even if that's 2 quarters, I want to see over just to get somewhat of a rhythm so that you're not like on again, off again, on again, off again, playing and not playing.
Yeah.
Going, like getting up, ramping up game preparation wise. But if they don't play, I'm not going to be here yelling in a microphone that Kevin Stefanski made some sort of mistake by not playing them, because it's not just the Browns mindset. You're seeing it kind of, spread across the NFL for the most part. And the NFL it's again, the bigger question really is, how long is too long for training camp? And right now, I think it might be on the side of too long rather than not long enough for teams to get ready, especially when you can do so much with meetings at home, meetings in the building, and so many different ways for guys to prepare themselves. Heck, even JOK, when he was on quarantine, he was finding unique ways at home.
Yep.
And probably had a blueprint to that for other guys that had to do that last year that couldn't go to the buildings at all, of how to kind of scheme up. You're never going to get to game speed at home when you're by yourself.
Right.
But at least to learn a playbook without just reading it, you're trying to enact it and try to get muscle memory with it and add your instinct and how you can impact those schemes. That's what can really forge a new path for this team. And I think, as funny as it is, that's why looking at a deep roster too, sometimes our 2s are going to be a little bit better than other people's 1s.
Sure.
Because they are as prepared, if not more so, as the starters, and everybody is ready for that opportunity should it unfortunately come about in some form or fashion, whether financially and other reasons. I'm not even going to bring up so we don't have to,
right.
I'm not going to say the words, but this week will be important. And you said it, Paulus, the 2 joint practices for some reason or another in front of 2,000 fans instead of, 60 some odd thousand fans in a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something about that competition at these practice facilities and in training camp. These guys are so ingrained to go against each other and compete for spots that when they get a chance to go against another team in that same scenario, that competition level just seems to be even higher than in a game during the training camp process.
Just don't fight. Like, please, God, don't fight. Don't pull. I mean, we've already heard, the Giants ending up their practices fighting each other, and Daniel Jones on the bottom of a dog pile. We don't need to see Baker there. Please don't fight. Just get like, honestly, this is a more stressful week this week
Mm-hmm.
than the 2 weeks leading up to the game itself, leading up to Kansas City. This is probably the most stressful week that I'm going to have as a Browns fan, because I am terrified because the Giants are so, undisciplined. They
Right.
are, it's a fact. Clearly, Joe
Sure.
Judge has no idea what he's doing there. I am terrified that something is going to happen. And like, once again, just don't fight, get through this week, and then on to Atlanta, because Atlanta is a dumpster fire as well.
Yeah.
And like, I think we can make it through Atlanta.
Yeah. If I haven't brought him out in a while, but Coach Kev, if I were to bring him out,
Right.
he
It's
would
been a
say-
minute.
It has been a minute. He would say, don't get sucked into what other teams have developed as their culture or lack thereof.
Yeah.
You've been disciplined. You are disciplined. Stay disciplined. Get the work in and get out of this week as healthy as possible, as improved as possible, and move on to Atlanta to, finish out all those position battles that we are all going to continue talking about. That, of course, we'll see how that all translates as this week goes on against the New York Giants. But that is going to take us to our final break. On the other side is our fun topic of the night, and it is influenced by a recent vacation that I took out to the Pacific Northwest. We will get into that. Maybe favorite food spots you've ever been to on vacation or just outside of Cleveland or Ohio area. You can let us know, tune in as you're tuning into the live stream, or on the audio, you can always tweet at us and let us know your spots. We will talk about that. And I'm going to clamor for a certain food place to come here to Cleveland. Hopefully they do soon. This is the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network. Welcome back to the Voice of the Land. And before the break, we kind of teased it, but in a minute, I'm going to get the guys' favorite food spots to go to, because we've talked a lot in our fun topics, we've talked a lot about movies and Marvel comics lately. We haven't kind of dove into the food topic recently. Shout out to Illegal Ham to the Face, those boys over at that podcast. I Am That Fat Guy, Jared Bates as well. They're always talking food on Tuesdays. You guys can always catch their podcast live, the similar way that you can catch ours at Illegal Ham, and then Big Play pages, of course, the audio as well. But they'll always have their Fat Boy Tuesday food topic.
That's right.
But favorite food spots you've been to, whether on vacation or just even outside of Cleveland and Ohio, like ones you really can't find here. And this comes from my trip to Seattle a couple weeks back. Went out there for my sister's wedding, have a new brother-in-law, Travis Worthington. So congratulations
Congrats.
to the Worthingtons.
There you go.
Going from
That was very fancy sounding.
That is.
It is, yes. They're going from, my sister's going from the beginning of the alphabet to the,
To the very end,
to
right.
the end. But, we've always been the first kid called in class, and now, kind of going to the end of the alphabet.
Right.
But great time out there. Beautiful little ceremony out at a smaller airport, airstrip out there in Seattle. Brother-in-law does work for Boeing, so
Nice.
kind of getting a chance to see some of the planes that they're working on, or getting painted up and
Yeah.
being used in different ways. Took my first plane trip. Not going to go there. That's let's just say it was rough.
Okay.
It was rough. Took a very small plane out to Minneapolis to connect to then the 757. That was, once I got on the bigger plane, it was much smoother. And
Was it
Sure.
one of those Embraers with the one seat on one side and two on the other?
no, it was two seats on both
Two,
sides. But
okay.
like if I were to like stand in the middle aisle and like my arms, how long they
Oh, yeah.
stretch.
Oh,
Like, if
yeah.
I were to go like side to side,
You'd hit the other side.
I'd hit the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's a big plane, man.
Right.
oof, it was a little
Oh,
rough.
yeah.
I probably should have it was an early flight, so I probably should have ate a little bit more besides taking Dramamine. But here nor there, you
Sure,
know,
sure.
through it, probably would fly again. Just I know the process now. I know
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm into it. But our last like day there, we spent time with my sister, brother-in-law, their friends, my dad, his girlfriend, and my fiance Jana.
Sure.
We went up to the mountains. It was kind of a cloudy day, so we were really literally up in the clouds. And on the way back, they had been talking about this pizza place they'd been going to, Mod Pizza. Mod Pizza. Like
MODD or
Just-
MOD?
just MOD.
Okay.
MOD, Mod Pizza. Now, no free ads, we always used to say on the show,
Right.
but I'm about to give one because Mod, like, hit me up seriously, because first place and the first good pizza I've been able to have since going on a gluten-free, dairy-free diet due to dietary restrictions, not for any sort of movement that's been going on.
Sure.
People have done that too, which is totally fine as well. I'm allergic to these food items, unfortunately, so I can't enjoy some of the finer things in life, like pizza. Let me tell you, wood fire, gluten-free pizza with
Yeah.
dairy-free cheese on it and all the other toppings you can think of.
Great.
First, great, like an amazing pizza. And I know that, you know, since I haven't really had pizza in a while, they can
Sure.
get construed. I've tried all of the gluten-free, dairy-free pizzas that are out there in the freezer section, some other places, try to piece it together, try to do our own, can never get the crust, crispy enough.
Yeah.
But in that wood,
So you like that crisp that
I do.
okay.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
to have a little more crunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least like a little bit of a crunch, like not the Dave Portnoy, like, you know, cheese pizza's got to have
Right.
the full crunch. It's got to look great on the bottom. Like ours that we try to make in the oven on New Year's Eve was like, it was like soggy. So like,
Yeah.
it not good.
You got the pizza pan.
Yeah.
You got, you know.
Yeah. So I think we should have like maybe crisped up the flour, the batter first, like as we kind of molded it out to an actual like pizza pie
Sure.
shape. We probably should have crisped that up first before putting the toppings on. We kind of followed a recipe. We probably,
Online. Something.
yeah,
Yeah.
live and you learn.
Oh yeah.
But I'm telling you, Mod Pizza, basically what it is like a Chipotle for pizza.
Okay.
And like one of those kind of fast food type places where you get to pick the type of pizza, the crust that you get. There's
Sure.
different styles of crust, different there's thin, there's thick, there's like their mega mod crust, which is, you know, like a really thick,
A thicker one, right?
yeah, thicker pizza. Or you can do the gluten-free. Then you can put on any toppings that you want. Like it's just, you just go down the line. Like you can put as many of the meats you want on, the veggies that you want on.
Sure.
Of course, they got the dairy-free cheese option, and then, you know, then they got the sauce. You can add extra sauce if you want. There's even an option to add an additional like dipping sauce. Or
So what's on your pizza?
so, I mean, when I was really eating pizza, you
Sure.
know, I would do like the traditional pepperoni. Sometimes my family would do like a veggie one that was mushroom, green onion, or mushroom, onion, and green pepper.
Okay. So
Um,
almost like a supreme
yeah,
sort of.
like
yeah.
I would do a supreme, like sausage, pepperoni.
Yeah.
Like I miss having a good DiGiorno supreme
Of course,
pizza
yeah.
to put in the oven. So like that's kind of what I did.
Yeah.
They put it in the wood fire oven. It's 11-inch pizza. It's all to yourself.
Nice.
You got like 6 pieces. Ate every last bite because like, I'm telling you, the closest one is in Columbus. Cleveland needs Mod Pizza. Mod
Well,
Pizza.
at least it's here for you. So like, I
Yes,
mean,
like,
you
I
have to
could-
make a day out of it, but
Yes,
it could be done.
which, you know, coming in the fall, we're going to be calling football for CBC TV.
Yeah.
You know, you got football stuff going on. We got Browns. Like, we're going to be so busy in the fall taking that trip down 71. Hey, Mod Pizza, can you work with Cleveland, take the trip up 71? Yeah, help me out here, please. Like, I'll
Right.
even post this clip. Like, Mod Pizza, I need you here. I need some of your pizza because I miss it so much.
Already.
I miss it so much already. I need my Mod Pizza. I need my, you know, gluten dairy-free option that still tastes like pizza and
Sure.
not cardboard.
Okay.
So like, as it's already jumped to the top of my list as a favorite spot outside of the Cleveland, Ohio area.
There you go.
Paulus, I know you've gone to San Diego. You've lived out in San Diego. You've
Yeah.
gone out there a couple times. like maybe a spot that comes to your mind, a couple spots that come to your mind.
I mean, we've talked about it already. You know, in the past, Kalima's. Kalima's, the first thing that we did the moment we got off the plane. Like I was telling Kelly, like I'm so excited. Like Kalima's, man. Like, oh my god, I can't wait. Yeah, Kalima's. We left the airport. We went straight to our, like the car lot, picked up the car. We sat in this car, like we're trying to get out. This is at like 11:30 at night. Yeah, about 11:30 at night. We're both exhausted. So that's a 3-hour time difference. So we're looking at what, 2:30 in the morning.
Yep.
We're like, we are beat. We are done.
That transition's killer too.
It is. Well,
on the way back,
the fact that you did your first flight out to Seattle, like, and I'm sure you had a couple of layovers. What layovers?
So going out there, it was Minneapolis, St. Paul. We had one.
I've never been there. I've traveled everywhere. I've never been to Minneapolis.
It's a nice airport. Like
okay.
we had I want to say 3 to 4 hour layover, but like it didn't feel like it because there was there was
a lot of stuff to do.
To do. Good, like good food there too. And then on the way back, we went straight from Seattle to Detroit.
Okay.
And then had a 3-hour layover there, which we probably should have just like got a car and drove back to
Detroit sucks, but I mean that's that's Detroit. I mean, so
we're not Detroit. So
we're not Detroit.
It was like we were supposed to leave around like right around 11 p.m. our time here, and they said it was gonna be a 50-minute flight.
Yeah.
When we got in,
it's pretty quick.
It is pretty quick. Like the captain was saying 15-20 minutes, but of course someone didn't want to adhere to their COVID protocols on the plane, so we had to wait before we get taxi out.
Of course,
not getting into that. I don't dive in.
We don't need to get into that.
We don't need to get into that. But
thankfully, I've never seen, and like I've seen a lot of stuff in my life. Yeah. I really have. I haven't seen any sort of fights on planes. I've seen close fights. I've seen people yelling at kids. But like I've never seen like an all-out sort of thing, and I'm sure the COVID protocols and everything like that. We had to wear them for our flight out out there. We went from Cleveland to Denver to San Diego.
Okay,
and then coming back, we went from San Diego to I want to say Vegas.
Okay,
to Chicago to like we were everywhere. Like it sucked. That plane sucked.
But at least you were like you didn't overshoot Cleveland.
No, those are always worst. Weird. Yeah. Those are always.
I got to go to Atlanta and then to Minneapolis and then Cleveland. It's like
so we almost had to. The original flight plan going out there was us from Cleveland to New York, then New York like fully coast to coast, New York to Seattle.
That would have been rough.
First flight, I'm glad we ended up in Minneapolis.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. The flights, though, I mean, as your first flight, kudos to you. I mean, I've done, from here to Florida and into the Carolinas, all of that sort of stuff.
That was the intention, was to like practice and warm up so I could go see my sister.
Yeah.
No, go hard or go home. That's just been my mindset forever,
But to bring back to the food topic, Kalima's is the spot to be at. The moment we got off the plane, we went to Kalima's. I was showing Kelly around. It's pitch black out in San Diego, but I'm like, oh, that looks new. That I haven't been out there in 9 years. So I'm like, oh man, this is all crazy. Like, but as soon as we hit like Texas Avenue, I was like, all right, I know exactly where we are. like we are right there.
Kelly's going, this is all new to me.
Kelly's like, I have no idea what we're looking at. But we sat in the Kalima's line, and it was like 3 cars, but you could tell like COVID's hit everyone. It used to be I'd sit in that line for 2 seconds, out. Like here's your burrito, go. Like go. We sat in the line for like a half hour, and she's like, it better be worth it. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's gonna be. We got back to our hotel. I don't even want to get into all of that. That was hellacious. We had to go through like two separate hotel rooms because it was nuts. We finally got there though. It was like an hour and a half later. She's like, mine's not even warm. I was like, I swear to God, Kelly, you like, if you don't eat this, we might get divorced. like it is that good. She had it and she was like, oh my God. Like she had like a chicken quesadilla. Loved it. Amazing. Grease falling off. It's so good. But we had that, and then my burrito, which is the Californian burrito. I mean, everything that you can think of: steak, guac, rice, beans, sour cream, French fries. Like that's This thing is as big as my forearm, and it was just amazing. So Kalima, shout out. There's only one in San Diego, but if you want to come here, I'll work for you. Like, I don't even care.
I'm sorry. Like I had to like clamor for.
Oh, no doubt,
So clamor
yeah.
for Kalima's all you want because my mouth's watering.
Right. Peter, how about you? Like, where have you traveled outside of here that you're like, oh my God?
Like that. What's that one spot that just comes to your mind?
Well, see, I used to travel a lot doing video stuff. So we
Okay.
would we would travel around doing like video support for companies.
Yeah.
Like for media training. So one of the companies that I used to do work for was a PR company, but their client was Northwest Airlines. I'm sure I can say this now because they don't exist anymore. But they were headquartered in
Statute of limitations
Well,
is
they're-
passed.
right. They're headquartered in Minneapolis. And one thing I found out, here's my little tip for anyone that is listening. If you travel an airplane, like an airline a lot, order yourself a windbreaker with their freaking logo on it, because you will get preferential treatment when you
Do
go
whatever
up
you
to
want.
the gate and he's like, I'm traveling out to traveling out and I got to get this, this stuff here. I don't want to gate check it.
Yeah.
They look at that windbreaker
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
you're good to go.
Northwest
Yeah.
Airlines logo on there. Man, front of the line. I put my stuff, it was great. Best $20 I spent at their corporate store. It was pouring rain too. That's why I bought it. It was pouring rain, torrential downpour. I'm like, well, they got a windbreaker for $20.
Sure.
And man, that thing paid off big time. But I would fly up there quite a bit, and the Mall of America is right there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's still there, but there was a restaurant there called Twin City Grill. And it's flying around with these companies. My boss at the time was always like, don't order the cheapest thing on the menu and don't order the most expensive thing on the menu. Get something right in the middle, because you'll fit, so you fit in. You don't want to be, you don't want to seem cheap. You don't want to seem like you're
Too bougie.
Yeah, right. And a lot of these guys were like ad guys, PR guys. These guys would eat and drink. So Twin City Grill, they had a surf and turf,
Okay.
which was fantastic. And they had a beer called Moose Drool, which was it was a
Nice.
darker beer. It was delicious. And it was like a regional one. I don't know if you can get it here yet, but I think you can buy it maybe online, have it shipped in.
Probably.
Okay.
But it was, get one of those on draft or whatever, have the surf and turf.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. So good. But
Moose drool. I like
Drool.
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was
That sounds like
What-
a beer.
was
That
tasty.
sounds like a
When
party beer.
out in San Diego, the one that's like my go-to, and we weren't able to get it whenever I was out there. Red Trolley
Okay.
is like it's one of these beers that keeps winning like gold after gold after gold out there, and everywhere that we went, they didn't have it, but like that place down there would, and we were like, okay, I didn't want to go there and buy like a 12-pack and then drink all of it. Like I was like, because we had stuff to do. You got the zoo, you got this, you got that. And I was like, you know what, Kelly, like I won't buy any. Like if it's out and it's available, we'll get it. Red Trolley though, like if I can purchase that and ship it out to me,
Mhm.
my God, I will. Like no doubt.
Yeah, I didn't find like an adult beverage
Sure.
out there. But,
Yeah.
I mean, my sister's still gonna hook me up, like, because she's also had to go gluten and dairy free. She's
Yeah.
not as, I guess, intense as I have to deal with it, but
Sure.
still to almost a similar extent. So she knows, and even her my brother-in-law knows of a couple good gluten-free beers. Like the next
Nice.
time we go out there, we want to do like a cross-country trip.
Yeah.
So like drive out there. My dad did that. Got a little nervous for him,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
he made it out there, made it back safe. So
Well, there you go.
That's all good. But we got on the way back, they stopped at Mount Rushmore. So
That'd
You
be cool to see. Yeah.
it is very cool to see.
Yeah.
yeah. It and the pictures he got, like, I mean, it kind of seeing it more realistically instead of just in like a textbook or
Sure.
a history book
Yeah.
or something. Like it felt more,
Yeah.
even more majestic, like it's supposed to, I guess you could
That's-
say.
That's how I felt about the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
See, I haven't been out to the Grand Canyon. That's one of the things I want to is on my list. To
we
get out there.
We did that whenever we went out to Vegas a couple, probably 6 years ago now.
Mhm.
We went out to Vegas, and it was, I mean, it's like a 4 or 5 hour drive or something like that from there. And if memory serves me right, we hit that and like the Hoover Dam. Let me tell you, that Hoover Dam's the real deal. Like that thing is scary as hell. Like
Yeah.
how crazy huge that thing is. But looking at the Grand Canyon, I'm terrified of heights. Like that's just a straight up fact. I can fly. I'm good with flying. But whenever it gets to actually being on the ledge of something,
Like
I'm
you're
like,
stationary.
exactly. The Grand Canyon, it gives you chills just looking
Yeah.
at it. But then you get up to the edge of it, and I was like, nope, can't do it.
Oh,
Will not do it.
that was me with the Space Needle, because like
Yeah.
the windows kind of like
Oh yeah.
bow out, so like people are like leaning back on them. Jana's trying to get me to lean back, and like
Did
people
they
are-
have like a glass floor that you could look down? Because
Yes.
at the Sears Tower they have that.
Yeah. Yes.
we did that when we went to Chicago. We did the tilt at the what was that the John Hancock building. They do
Nice.
the tilt where the
Herbie
where
Hancock
where,
building.
where Herbie Hancock, where you actually lean there and they tilt the glass out and
Okay.
you tilt forward over.
Oh, no.
So the whole family did
Oh
that.
no!
Kevin's already
Oh.
getting squeamish over
And then
it.
at the Sears Tower or whatever the heck they call it now, they have the cubes, right? The glass
Okay.
cube,
Yeah.
and we did that. So we hit both of those when we were out there because we're like,
Man.
why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Space Needle has 2 levels to it. So you take this elevator, which it looks scary from the ground,
Sure.
but it was actually a little bit easier of a ride up,
Yeah.
almost like the Power Tower at Cedar Point, that
Okay.
type of thing.
Yeah. But it
Uh,
doesn't shoot
Yeah,
straight down.
it doesn't shoot straight down. Like it actually goes like an elevator and goes like really, really slow.
Yeah.
But so like they let you off on like the sky deck, so you're at like the windows that are just kind of looking out like up
Yeah.
above, and then there's a deck lower where you're more indoors. There's kind of like a restaurant in there, or like a cocktail hour type
Sure, yeah.
thing in there, and it's a rotating floor
Okay.
as well, and you can like look down through the glass on both. But yeah, people were trying to, Jan was trying to get me to lean back on the glass, and I saw I saw so many people that were like squeamish like I was. I was like,
Yeah.
this is as far as I'm going. Like, this is cool. Like, the majestic part was the mountains. I know now, like, I have a better respect now why my sister stayed out there,
Sure.
moved out there and stayed out there. The city skyline is beautiful, but all like the mountains, the Olympic Mountains, the
That's
Cascade
it.
Mountains.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to take that cross country trip, see some other things around the country, but then be able to go stay with them and then go hiking. Because
That's
like,
fun.
you see an evergreen tree, you've seen them all.
Sure. Yeah.
But to go hiking some of the trails and
I-
kind of some of the views that they have.
I
would be
think
great.
going to like, and now this is, California, but like the Redwood Forest,
Yes.
like doing
Right.
stuff like that would be super cool to do. Like I've gone to and from, driven, from here to San Diego and San Diego back. And that was primarily through the South though. Like,
Okay.
and, like I went through like Texas and Oklahoma and all of those whenever I was coming back. But whenever I was going out there, I hit like Iowa and,
Mhm.
like Iowa is nothing but corn. It literally is nothing but corn and like the windmill.
Yes.
Yeah.
What-
And
yeah.
and now 2 baseball diamonds.
Now
Yeah.
they got 2.
Now
they got 2
two.
now.
We didn't get to that tonight, but I mean, a lot of cool things
Yeah, oh, yeah.
around the country doing. And when you get out to some of those places, there's no cell reception.
Yeah.
So you really just get to disconnect. And that's
Yeah.
that's really
nice.
that's really the type of trip that we're looking for.
Yeah.
But that is going to wrap it up for this edition of The Voice of the Land. Our buddy Jared Bates, we shouted him out. He was
Yeah.
texting. He's like, he needs that call in line. That might be coming soon. He was like, you guys, like, I need to get stuff off my chest right now, and I want to call in, but he can't. He was texting me. He's blowing up my phone with text right now. Like, my watch is just, my wrist is vibrating. I don't know what the heck is going on.
What's going on?
And
right?
I look, it's Jared, and I was like, yeah, we're talking food. Jared's blowing up my phone, but that does
Shout out Jared.
shout out Jared and those boys, Brian, Vinny, and all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Little hand to the face. But for The Voice of the Land, that is going to wrap it up. For my brother, Nick Paulus, our producer extraordinaire, Peter Tillett, I'm Kevin Arnold, reminding all of you sports fans, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game. And to all our Marvel fans out there and to everyone worldwide still in this pandemic, we truly do love you all 3,000. We will see you next week.